Hi, my name's Justin, and I want to talk to you about the Dungenerator, which is a really cool little project that I picked up from Kickstarter. I couldn't tell you how long ago. It's been a few months. It's as Kickstarter tends to go. These were put out by a person going by the name Roland Coons, which they have right here on the side of these two decks. And I kickstarted these because they seemed like a really quick, easy thing to use at the table for generating dungeons. So let's take a look at these. I've only had them for a couple of days. I haven't gotten a chance to use them at the table yet, but I'm very excited for them. So the way it works, and they come with a couple of different kinds of cards. I really thought this was going to be more... you just open it and start laying cards out, which you could do, but there are kind of some specifics that you can follow to really get a proper dungeon setup. And so I've got my cards separated out here, and this is the first series, Series 1. And if we look here, it gives you some super basic instructions. So first up, it tells you how to prepare the dungeon deck here. So we would remove the entrance and stairs and secret passages from the deck and set them aside, which I've already preemptively done here. And then pick an entrance, place it in the play area. So we would come in here, we would find an entrance, and these are all double-sided, every one of them. This is our entrance icon. So we would lay down a dungeon here. Let me get these out of the way. You take all your other entrances and you flip them over to their stairs side, which is going to be right here. There's Roland Coons right there if you want to look them up. And then we're going to shuffle the treasures into the deck. So we've got our treasure cards here. They've got little treasure chests on them, conveniently enough. So let's come through here. All right, so these are all on their stairs side. Well, these are our stairs right here. And we've got our treasures right here. So we're going to shuffle them in. We've got our first room of our dungeon we're going to build here. So let's shuffle these in. I'm not using sleeves or anything fancy like that for these. They are nice, kind of linen. I believe they're linen printed cards. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but they have that little bit of texture on them. So I'm just going to come here, shuffle my deck up. We've got our treasures now shuffled into the deck. All right, we're all set here. And these X sides are the dead end sides of cards. And anytime a room would overlap with another room, you just flip it from its regular side to its dead end side to indicate that that's a dead end within your dungeon, which I think is a really cool way to do that, because a lot of times with these randomly generated things, it sort of requires you to come up with your own solutions. So I think it's neat that they thought of this ahead of time. So we just start generating. We flip a card, the arrow connects to the previous room, and we've got a room here. And we can just, as we explore wherever our adventurers are, we can keep flipping rooms. Now, I imagine this is something that you could have, if you wanted to, exposed to the players, but also something that maybe you're just doing behind the GM screen, or maybe something you do the day before you play. And these rooms don't really quite match up there. A little weird, but maybe we can just scoot this guy over some. Hey, look at that. Maybe it's something you do the day before you play to kind of come up with a dungeon preemptively ahead of time, and you take a picture of it and go from there. And you just sort of lay it out this way. Now, it also includes these two hooks cards. You can roll a d12 and things happen. It's just sort of general occurrences. Thick fluid drips from above. You forget who you are. Your sense of smell fails. Things that you as the game master would probably want to add some amount of context to. But what we get here is a very nicely laid out, good looking dungeon with treasures, with some random events built in, and it just kind of works. At any point, you can... Oh, and I forgot. I skipped a step. I was supposed to shuffle some stairs back into the deck. So eventually you hit stairs and you go to the next level. But that's basically it. It's a relatively simple idea that I think is executed well. But what's really exciting is the new series of Dungenerator cards. Now, I got these both at the same time. But this deck is extra exciting to me for a couple of reasons. For starters, same thing. You've got different types of cards. So we're going to separate our regular room cards out here. We've got our room icons, but they also include these expansion icons, which is new to this series, which is you overlap this room with an existing one, connecting their outer walls to form one large room. So let's come in here and we'll set our deck up the same way. So we're going to add rooms from the deck to each open exit. Oh, that's how we actually dungenerate. We want to prepare the dungeon deck. Here we are. Here's the correct side. Remove the entrances and stairs. Here we go. These are treasures. We're going to take those out. And then expansions. I think we take those out. We'll put them separate. So we've got entrances / stairs. We've got treasures. We've got expansions. So we're going to shuffle the treasures into the deck just like last time. We're going to add 1 stairs to the deck, which is not what I did last time, and I forgot. And we're going to get these other stairs out of the way. So let's shuffle here. Whoop. And I'm not really sure how the expansions are totally supposed to work. I think they're just a thing that you can sort of mix in there. It doesn't say on the card exactly what to do with them. So I'm guessing it's just something that you can stick in there to make them more fun, or maybe as you're generating and you want to make a room bigger, you can do that. But I also really like the art style of these. I think they're really well done. I like that it's not just your general gray dungeon layout, and even the other ones weren't necessarily gray. They were more of a sort of brown color. So these are our expansions. I suppose, you know, let's mix a few expansions in our dungeon deck as well. So we've got a stairs, we've got our treasures, we've got some expansion cards in here, and we're going to generate a dungeon. Let's see. So here we go. Let's give ourselves an entrance card. So here's our entrance. Our adventurers, well, we'll put it over here. Our adventurers come in from this direction. Pardon me. This direction. And we can just start laying out some cards. So first things first, we're going to flip. And it's these sort of like cavernous, I don't know about jungle themed, but it feels like they might be sort of a jungle theme here. Now, one problem you may run into, which is something that I see in a lot of even board games, tile-based board games where you're laying tiles out, is that depending on the direction your adventurers go, you might run out of table space. But if you're creative, I think it's something that you could pretty easily overcome. So this one doesn't quite overlap here, or it overlaps this room. So I suppose we could go, all right, that's a dead end then, because it's sort of cutting into this room. But realistically, it's not a board game. You don't have to lay everything out perfectly. It's not one of those things where everything has to perfectly fit. And if it's something you're generating behind the screen or ahead of time, you could come in here and say, oh, I don't really want the dungeon to go that way. How about this? This is a better corridor. Because obviously you don't need to use these exactly as it's shown on the instruction card. It's the kind of thing that if you wanted to, you could just flip the deck over, come through here and say, hey, you know, what looks fun? What do I want to put in here? Here's an expansion room that I could put in here. So I could say, all right, I like this big cavern. I'm going to make it even bigger here to make this big, huge cavernous area. And maybe we put a dragon or whatever monster in there. And then we put a treasure room right here. So now we've generated a very nice looking dungeon. It's relatively dynamic. We have a couple treasure rooms. We have an expansion room that we could put a large encounter in. There's a lot of different things that we could do with this as a tool at the table or as a tool when we're preparing. And then this deck doesn't come with the Something Happens cards, the Hooks cards, but you can still use the Hooks cards from the first deck if you happen to also pick that up. So it's an option. Overall, I'm really excited to use these. I think they're a really great tool. I'm not a person that loves making dungeons for my games, mostly because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pre-made dungeons already out there that are better than mine, that look nicer than mine, that are more dynamic than mine. So why not make use of what's out there? Because every great dungeon master and game master steals from things, because if you're just using it in your own private game, that's fine. Take things, steal from movies, books, whatever. But that's Dungenerator. I think they are a really great set of decks. I kind of would recommend them together, and you can also mix them. There's nothing to say you can't mix them. You can do kind of the more traditional looking style dungeon with the Series 1, and then you can have it sort of transition into a jungle type area with the second deck, or whatever theme you want, because this again is not necessarily something that you're going to be showing to your players. Anyway, that is the Dungenerator. If you liked this video, please let us know. I do a ton of tabletop stuff in my off time. If you look at our channel, we are mostly focused on the podcast that we run, which we would love for you to listen to. But I just kind of wanted an outlet to talk about all of my various tabletop things that I'm interested in, that I'm into, that I'm enjoying. So if this is something you like from us, please let us know, and we can do more of it. Thanks for watching.